So if there's ever any evidence that Reform are making all the running in British politics, particularly in England, that question is it, because the Labour are saying, no, but we're trying, we can be patriotic. We are patriotic, and then deciding how they interpret that. But the problem with that is if you're using that in a British lens, as she did there, you can imagine being Anna Sarwar just now going, oh, for goodness sake, need this like a hole in the head. And that's a real problem. They've got to try and square that circle. Now, to the Scottish experience, one thing that's really interesting is I think we haven't scratched the surface enough on this yet. Reform are speaking to the urban and the rural just now. Not all parts, obviously. They're not anywhere near the SNP in the polls just yet. But they are eeksy-peeksy for second. And what was really interesting about the SNP conference, I wasn't there, but I was in the city with delegates and all the rest of it, is them talking about their experiences, whether they come from a rural constituency, Reform are on the rise here, or whether they're from an urban one, when speaking to some Glasgow delegates. And I think that's a real threat for all other parties, when you can speak to those different constituencies and seemingly be gaining some traction. That's the problem. So I actually think the SNP are the best placed party, I'm sure Labour won't like me saying this, to tackle that. They have established, and you rightly said, they're a national party of Scotland. They should be speaking to all ears and peers. Something I would argue that they haven't done very well in recent years prior to John and Kate coming on board, if I may say. But seemingly, and I take what Andy said earlier, John's making a good fist of trying to rectify that.